Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR481. It's the Forbidden Door, but I am not alone. I have the pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan deity. It is Monty. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Always over the moon around Forbidden Door season. Before it and after it. So far, got the second one out of the way. I can't. It's always been an experience when it comes to watching New Japan's working relationship with AEW. But getting to sit there and just let those guys do what they do best and see a little bit of the best of both rosters in that format. It's always an honor. So yeah, man, I'm happy to be here to talk about this show. And this particular show is always special to me. More special than any AEW event that happens. I'm always looking forward to Forbidden Door. So yeah.
Yeah, like I said, without a shadow of a doubt. And people may be wondering where Jaxie and Gina are. Unfortunately, they can't make it. And again, I'm not going to blame Monty for everything, but I mean, it's a good way to start because we originally were going to do it midweek and we had to change it. So don't email me and complain Jaxie and Gina aren't here. It's Monty's fault.
Right.
It's not
mine. Blame me. It's all my fault.
And he's forced me, everybody listening here, if you're thinking, oh, James sounds a bit rough today, well, I am, because last night I was at Money in the Bank watching that, and
Woo!
Jesus Christ, we're going to do a full review next Saturday or next Sunday, whenever we can, next weekend. So if I am a little bit croaky and stuff like that, is because of it. I have got a few Money in the Bank notes, and Monty, you can tell, as an unbiased, you're going to be an unbiased person in this one.
Gotcha.
All right, because last night, like I said, I've been to a few events, and I don't think I've ever kind of been to one that was just, firstly, so loud to begin with. To start off with that Money in the Bank, or as I called it, LA Knight versus others in Money in the Bank. Man, was he over. Like, even walking around arena pit, LA Knight, it was just like... Wow, and
all he did was he did a DDT, and you guys went insane.
Well, do you think how proud I am, Monty, that we loved like LA Knight versus Cameron Grimes, and now everybody's on like the LA Knight train, and now exactly, and the conversations we were having with everybody, and you agree, and you go, it's just crazy how much he was loved. Like I said, Logan Paul was detested. Really, really.
The wanker chant. Oh my goodness.
My God, he was. and I tell you what, I'm glad Ricochet made him bleed in the what the fuck did he just do and what did it look like? As we were saying around us, like it was pretty incredible. We're not gonna ruin the result, obviously, because we're gonna do a full review. Even though I did see Priest biding his time at ringside. There's any problem about watching the event not on TV.
Yeah, live. You get to see. Yeah, that's fair. A lot of the things that we don't get to, a lot of things that's protected from the viewer through camera angles, you get to see it all. Them getting their breath together, setting up the next spot, all of that type of stuff. You get to see it.
Honestly, yeah. And the next match, we had a big turn because the crowd was a little bit quiet as the women's tag match started, and then we were all just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, man.
Shit.
I was so in shock. No, did not see it coming at all.
I don't
think anyone did.
I have sent you the video of the next thing, right? And which after the Gunther versus Bro match, Drew McIntyre returned, and I did lose my shit. The next hour of this show was a blur of kind of noise.
Just awesome, man.
I honestly, as soon as Drew come out, it was Cody, it was booing Dom, being impressed by Rhea, woeing all the time. Cena arrived, and then Mania might have been mentioned, and then we were just having a party.
You even gave Waller hell. Hell.
Fucking hell. To be fair to Cena, he was saying this when I was seeing him at the O2 back in 2010. But again, I'll give him credit for getting that crowd going. And it was crazy that we used the women's Money in the Bank match to calm down.
Right.
Which then just turned into again, one of our favourites, EO Sky. You know,
Yeah.
how many times have I said how cool? Do you know how
How
cool it
cool
is,
is
Monty,
she,
to
man?
see her win the Money in the Bank
In person.
briefcase? You know, like, oh man.
Yeah, man.
And
I can only imagine.
And I will say as well, I got to give a shout out because on Friday and Saturday, I sat next to a guy. I think his name was Simon. Or if I forgot your name wrong, mate, I really apologise. But we couldn't hear shit when we were in there, could we? But we sat next to each other for both shows. Really, really fun. He was a big EO Sky fan. Really,
Nice.
really nice company. And like I said, I like to think of it, Monty, as like sections. So I've kind of got like my own section that I don't control per se, but just, you know, like a few chants will start, or, you know, you kind of just have a little banter between you. That's kind of the thing about the events that I love. I assume it's the same in America, but especially kind of here, you know, there's a real camaraderie and, like, you know, chat.
It's the same, but so different. It's so different. Like, you guys bring that element that I think is missing from a lot of American shows. Like, we get on the same page for the most part, especially when the pay-per-views are really, really good. You can tell when an American audience is really into a show, and you can tell when the show is doing well. But you guys, man, incorporate. You get like it's again. I always compare it to football over there, or like, you know, it's just that energy just. And like you said, you guys being all on the same page. The song, you know what song you're gonna sing next. It feels like it's like, again, you like Cena may have been blowing a little smoke, but you guys literally were the show because you just waiting. How can they keep doing this? I was wondering, like, how can you guys keep this type of energy up for 3 bleeping hours? And trust me, they did it.
No, honestly, like we mental element of the match was like great, but like I said, the next time I kind of looked at the clock, we were like, 2.5 hours in, you know, like that was, like I said, that was when. And then at that point, obviously, Seth Rollins with his song as well, and everything went there, you know. And it's crazy because even today, thinking about it, I forgot about that match. So, like, I was looking back,
wow.
and, oh yeah, that happened, didn't it? Like, that's how kind of crazy everything was at that moment in time. Really, really was. And then, of course, the main event, man. I mean, I tell you something, Monty, never is an ending of a match turned into a party. Like, we singing that Uso song. I mean, all of us on our feet, bopping up and down, just like,
oh my goodness.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it now. Like, the whole arena. I don't know how long they showed you, but the Usos were in that ring for 20 fucking minutes. Like, giving it lives.
Yeah, I think they cut to the press conference, but yeah, they definitely, you can tell on the Usos' face, like they were even surprised at just how into it, and not only that, their song, like again, like you guys were every lyric, you know, y'all repeated that down since day one line perfectly every time. We picked it up at home on televisions, on the computer, so everyone's got a chance to really hear you guys put on a show, and you could just tell the Usos were having the time of their life, and I know you guys were too, man. It was. Yeah, man, that was special. It was just special stuff, and I felt like this too. I was like, "This is a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge." They owed you one. Like, you remember what happened at the end of Wales, at the Wales show? They owed. I think Hunter knew we owed you a good ending, and they gave you guys one, not some Tyson Fury song.
I'm about to say, yeah, Roman got pinned in one of the events. Might not have been the one we wanted, but like you said, it was so good. I'm looking forward to rewatching it to see kind of Roman because.
Yeah.
Like, when he sat down,
he was great.
When we were standing up and he sat on the apron, man, we fucking pissed. We nearly started cheering him. Like, honestly, it was just gold. So I want to see what his face was. Because I know even, you know, like I said, the action itself was fantastic. But I just know, like, with the near falls and stuff like that.
And wait till you hear him on the mic, because you know Roman loves to talk. So just wait till you hear him. He was a great time.
Honestly, it was great. And afterwards, we danced and sang and some more well into the car park and of course into the early hours of the morning, man. So I mean, Money in the Bank, like I said, I'll have to rewatch it because at the moment it's like I said, it was a party. It wasn't a wrestling event. It was just 18,000 people having the time of their lives, you know?
Yeah, I understand. I think that's what it is. Like, this is Money in the Bank, but you guys, anytime you have a special event over there, and I can't wait to hear about Wembley, man. I know it's gonna be even more people, so it's gonna probably be even more of a holiday. But I think what I would compare your crowds to is like what we try to do, well, what American audiences try to do at WrestleMania. But you guys do that for any show almost that's over there. It seems like to where it's just you can tell the drinks are flowing. It's a celebration. It's not even really about the wrestling as much, even though of course the wrestling is just like the icing on top because you guys bring the energy. And again, it just felt like a big party, man. I can't wait to talk about it in more detail next week.
Well, like I said, I think the crowd would be happy if they just played entrance themes for 2 hours. You know? Like the amount of singing.
Right.
But as you said, Monty, it's an excellent point because the UK has been very lucky, to have Money in the Bank at the O2, and of course we've got All In at Wembley at the end of August.
Yeah.
Of course, AEW will be hosting All In, so we are here today to talk about the Forbidden Door. If I can remember it, you're gonna have to be. You might have to help me out here, but we should be fine. So let's get to Ospreay and Omega had a match, did they? Oh, really? Let me see what happens. No. So here we go. June 25th, Toronto, Canada. Feels like a lifetime ago, but it is AEW New Japan Forbidden Door. 0 Hour with Renee Paquette and RJ City. We had Chaos versus Mogul Embassy to start us off with Strickland, Khan, Leona and Cage took on Beretta, Taylor, Romero and Desperado in 8-man tag team action. Everyone did a good job and got the crowd hyped for the show. Mogul Embassy scored the women's swerve hit, a double stomp on Romero. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you pretty much said it was a pretty good multi-man match. Both teams got their stuff in the time that they were given. It was a fun enough way to pretty much kick off things. I don't really have an issue with it. Wasn't anything special. I think it's like a textbook, like multi-man tag match, pre-show style, or if you want to even say like for New Japan, a lot of their Road 2 shows have these type of matches. That's kind of like this, and this what that reminded me of. So it was, right. It was textbook, type of stuff, really. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I think I gave it 3 1/4. It was a pretty good start.
Yeah, like I say, it's nice to see Chris join Excalibur and Kevin on commentary for the 0 Hour. Despy looked good. I'm not sure he liked the hug, and I'm putting my bets on Swerve having a bigger match this time next year as well.
Please, I hope so. He deserves. He deserves to be in a title match spot. Whether it's challenging, whether it's being a defending champion. I'm putting my bets on maybe defending champion by then. Hopefully, we'll see TNT or maybe even he finally hunt down Orange Cassidy. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think he definitely should be a champion by next year.
Yeah, I give it 3.95. Nice way to start. Predictions. Well, we've got the prediction leagues 2023 before Bidding Door. WWE, I was on 3 points. Monty was on 2 with Gina. Jaxie on 1. Bonus league, Jaxie and Gina both on 11. Me and Monty on 14. AEW at the moment, Monty's in lead on 2. James Jaxie on 1. For this match, we all went Swerve through all on 1. We then had the Owen Hart Cup tournament continuing with Billy Starks versus Athena. Couple of missteps, but most of the match was hard hitting. Allowed both women to shine. Final few minutes woke the crowd up. Excuse me, but they started hitting bigger spots. Athena winning was predictable, but probably the right call as well. And I think the bump Billy took on the apron looked sick.
Yeah, man. This is really good. I love the pacing to start it out. They started out really, really quick, and then, it kind of developed into a really physical fight. And I thought Starks not really being taken seriously at the beginning, or someone that you think that even had a chance against Athena, I thought it would hurt it coming into it. But really, she gave a really good effort. She was very aggressive and matched Athena's energy, and Athena's work since becoming a heel. I know most of her stuff has been taking place on Ring of Honor, which is a shame because I don't think she's not getting the eyeballs on just how good her work has been since turning heel. But I really enjoyed her evolution. She's another one of those people. I know she wasn't really in me and your era watching NXT review. She was in there, towards the end of her run in WWE, but not that initial run. But me and you are both very familiar of how good the former Ember Moon really is, and I really have enjoyed her evolution as a character. She was as solid as ever here, and Billy stuck with her really good in this one. So I really enjoyed her giving a good fight. And again, like Athena's confidence is through the roof right now. She's having fun. This is really good, man. I gave it 3 3/4.
Yeah, no, I give it 3.5. Like you said, though, I haven't seen Athena in about a year. So even this kind of undefeated streak with Ring of Honor, I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's why it's a shame. She's been doing great, but again, no one is able to watch it because not everyone has time to catch up with this stuff.
Yeah. Up next, did you know Vincent won AEW? I didn't. Last time I saw him was on Impact.
Nope.
He came out with Stu Grayson and Dutch. Me neither. To take
Didn't even know Stu was out of the Dark Order. Like, who he got? The Righteous? Okay, all right. Nice to meet you, guys.
Yeah, it's like nice name, but again, yeah, it's like what? To take on El Phantasmo. Grayson immediately took control. This wasn't the squash, but definitely designed to make Grayson look good, who controlled the pace for most of the match. Phantasmo still had some standout moments. ELP was able to get a clean win. And please, I've heard this. People think he looks like Logan Paul. It's just a haircut. He's not New Japan's
my goodness, it's
that.
just the hair. Yeah, he's just the hair. I promise. He's also been doing this a lot longer than Logan Paul. Like, now the wrestling market is coming out. Like, come on now, calm down. Come on. He could not wipe ELP's boots, honestly, at this point. But hey, we'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. It's the hairstyle.
Okay, yeah,
but yeah, the match, I was happy ELP got a chance to have this match, though. Home country, he's one of my favorites, honestly. I don't think he's ever had a match that I did not enjoy. And even though this was quick, like you mentioned, and then Stu got a lot of the offense in, trying to show what he can do in this setting. Because, Stu, like you mentioned, when he was in the Dark Order, he was mostly in tag matches. So it was kind of cool to get to see what Stu can do by himself in this with, a lot of time given. And it didn't overstay his welcome. ELP pretty much put him away pretty quickly once he kind of got the crowd going in his favor. So I really enjoyed this match. It's probably my favorite match on the 0 hour at this point. So yeah, I gave it 3 3/4 too.
Yeah, like I said, with ELP, what I like about him and what I like about New Japan is that obviously they've got confidence in him, former, and the character, so we know he's just going to blossom. And again, the reaction to the crowd is like, well, we'll see what he does in a year. Like I said, especially coming out of the Bullet Club now and what we know he can do. I mean, he was putting on bangers in Impact last year, so we know when he's called upon. Prediction-wise, we all went ELP, we all went 3, so we all went Athena earlier as well. Fourth match was United Empire versus Los Inaugurables. The best you're going to get. It's Carl Fletcher, TJP, and Jeff Cobb representing United Empire against LIJ's Bushi, Rumi Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi in the final pre-show match. It was mayhem for the moment the bell rang. All 6 men began fighting. It took a few minutes for it down to TJP and Bushi as illegal men, with TJP getting hit with Shingo's finisher. This was short but energetic. Crowd had fun. And again, what a team from United Empire when you think about, Fletcher will be leading this group one day. TJP on this podcast was actually in the CWC having Iron Men matches in Impact with Alexander, and your man Shingo getting the win, Monty. That's good times.
Yeah, man, this is really, really good. It really made me wonder what the hell was I thinking coming into it, predicting the Empire had a chance, man, because, again, I forgot Hiromu couldn't do the Forbidden Door last year, so I should have known he wasn't going to lose his debut really in, like, AEW, and then you have Shingo there, like you said, a walking juggernaut. But this was another textbook New Japan type of style trios match opener, and, again, it was really, really solid, like you said, fast paced. I think when they started the match, it was on like 12 minutes or 10 minutes left in there. So you kind of knew that they didn't have a lot of time to work with, but I think everyone still got a chance to do what they do best. And it definitely accomplished the goal of keeping the crowd into it too. So yeah, man, I would never doubt my guys again. That's why I love LIJ. But again, this is a really, really good stuff. And like you said, the United Empire, that's just the talent. Again, it's one thing I always say. I love Jeff Cobb so much that I wonder why every day. That's why, but he's someone that I should never root for because it seems like he don't ever win when you need him to. Like I love Jeff Cobb, but there's nothing he can't do in that ring. You would think he would be dominant, even in New Japan. But he's a guy who doesn't, especially in some of these spots, don't get the win to go or get things to go in his favor. But either way it goes, this was really, really fun. I bet against LIJ, maybe it was too much best of the Super Juniors, me doubting Bushi. But hey, this was no problem. I had a really good time with it, so I gave it 3 3/4.
Yeah, I gave this a 4 because I got freaked out a little bit at how used I'm seeing with Shingo and Takahashi now. It's like their NXT talent, it's
right. You're familiar, yeah.
Yeah, like when you see him showing up another program, yeah. It really is, like I said, it's an odd feeling to know that I'm actually starting to know the kind of New Japan talent. And again, I can say this because Jackson and Gino aren't going to have a go at me right now, but that's what makes this show more exciting. It's not AEW at the moment; it's the New Japan talent. I'm gonna say that.
I agree. Watching the way they mingle too with these with the AEW guys, like I agree 100%. I think that's my favorite part of it, is because as much as I love WWE, that's the one thing that you never really get. You never really get the intermingling of other promotions, or hell, they don't even really do the intermingling of the brands as well as they used to or have done at times. So it's really, really cool when you get a chance to see, like you said, guys that you know versus other guys that you may know, but you never really imagined them going against each other. Just like our first match of the actual Forbidden Door card, because I never would imagine that would be a match I ever see. And here we are.
Well, exactly. Without a shadow of a doubt. So predictions, we all went United Empire. So thanks to Monty, we're all on 3. It is Monty's fault. You see how much I'm blaming him the first 20 minutes of this.
I'll take it.
The main show, Taz took Chris's place.
At least I got you all wrong.
No, to be fair. Yeah, you led us down that garden path, my friend. I actually tend to be like LIJ, and I was like, oh, no, fuck that. No. Monty wouldn't. So, like you said, though, first time ever match, MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the AEW World Championship. MJF had a robe that said New Japan is an indie. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Monty? Because I know it's a joke and a rib, but again, that must really stick the knife into some.
I think some people who probably take this too seriously, or maybe the people who are not really fans of AEW, but they really like New Japan, maybe they can they take it a little bit more personal. But honestly, I came into this match knowing that he's going to be the ultimate scumbag, and that's just what I expect from him. And it's very, very funny, again, and he's going to do things in this match that even Kelly highlighted, that as much as he talked like that, he still would borrow or do certain things that was famous in New Japan. So he's very, very smart. He knows exactly how to rile people up and piss people off. He knows that there's people out there who really think he's a cool heel and like to cheer for him. So he do whatever he can, try to piss off whoever he can. And I have no problem with it. I chuckled at it because that's what I expect from MJF. He calls himself the devil. Why are you expecting anything less? Yeah. So, I have no problem with it, honestly. But, I could definitely, you're right. It was definitely some people some New Japan diehards, maybe some people on the internet who absolutely hate how much he put down New Japan. But honestly, I wasn't really that affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, we all know New Japan is bigger than AEW. And again, that will probably start a few more arguments, so I'll move on quickly. MJF went to Tony Khan and requested that his match against Tanahashi go on first so he could get out of Toronto as fast as possible. He taunted Tanahashi by mocking his walk before they locked up. And do you know what? MJF, my thing is that just give a little something to your opponent. Because, again, if you're not on my level, who have you beaten, or why is this match actually matter? And like I said, Tanahashi did very well to let MJF kind of mock his way, that he played the guitar and even kind of walked, got the coward chant going. I felt this was a very kind of American style match, if you know what I mean.
Definitely.
MJF using kind of cheap tactics, kept the sort of slow pace, tried to get the crowd involved, and generated quite a
There's some Ric Flair spots.
Oh my God! Like, and again, it's another thing I like about him because it's like even the Chris Condino spots, and it's obviously MJF
Yeah.
does like professional wrestling, and this did feel
Yes.
like Ric Flair versus local territory star. No offense to
Mm-hmm.
Tanahashi, but this is kind of what it is. And I thought Excalibur did a good job on commentary, kind of explaining how big Tanahashi actually is. We see him hit the dragon screw leg whip, knocking in the cloverleaf, but MJF got to the bottom rope. And then, of course, all the shenanigans with the champ using a dynamite diamond ring to a chip shot and to get the pin. I mean, Tanahashi maybe struggled on the top rope like he did with Collision, but I think all in all, this was as good as we could get, really.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of explaining the difference. Like, even if it probably was in reality, maybe just a little bit of old age or anything. I just love them trying to explain it away and talk about, well, they have the different corner pads and all of that type of stuff. And that's why Tanahashi has to get his footing right and or adjust to it. And they did that a couple of times throughout the night. Just even I think at some point, I think when Sonata and Jack wrestled, they talked about the different counting cadences for Red Shoes, and like you have to get used to how he counts the three by comparison to an AEW official. And that's a nice little touch to just point out that, again, this is unfamiliar territory and all of that. And like you said, they did a really good job of explaining it away. I think the drawback here, and anybody who has a drawback about it, is that is kind of like the problem that we have when it comes to Forbidden Door sometimes, especially in this case, when it comes to Tanahashi. The fact that Excalibur has to explain the way. If you're a newcomer and you looked at Max's robe and you looked at how Max may have treated Tanahashi at times throughout this, you may look at New Japan as a lesser, thing. But like you mentioned, I think anyone who knows, and even if they want to argue with it or be, go, to their tribal or to the AEW fans, it's probably going to bring them all out. At the end of the day, New Japan has been here since 1972. They have the history on their side. They have so much. They've done so much for professional wrestling, not just in Japan, but across the world. They've influenced so many people, and Tanahashi is definitely one of those guys. And I think that's why I love Kevin Kelly being here. He also explained the way that when Tana was young, he would have run through a guy like MJF. He would just not only power him, but use his athleticism, use his explosiveness to overcome MJF. But again, what happens as you get older? Explosiveness, a lot of that type of stuff. Even his definition is nowhere near what it used to be when it comes to who Tanahashi is. But like you said, they had the crowd in the palm of their hands. I think you said American style. It reminded me of like classic, like Memphis type of booking. A lot of theatrics, like you said, a lot of crowd play, a lot of MJF just being a complete scumbag, using Antonio Inoki's finisher, even though it's like just a regular abdominal stretch, maybe to some, that is, Antonio Inoki's finisher move and using the ropes to cheat is something that they would never do in Japan, but something they would definitely do if you're talking about like American or like classic American wrestling. So again, I just love that element that he brought to it, attacking, even if he was mocking Tanahashi's knees. Again, sometimes Max, I don't know why he does this, but even though when he sells his knee, he does a lot of damage to the knee himself. But, again, Tanahashi, just so he can set up a dragon screw, it all played perfectly into like the bag of what I've come to know about Tanahashi. Like I said, you give Tanahashi some time, you give some fans who actually know who Tanahashi is, and you give him a scumbag like MJF, they will do exactly what you would expect, and that is tell a really good story of a guy trying to fight back against just a total scumbag. And but again, it was really, really classic MJF with the finish. Tana literally had him pinned. He had like a 6 or a 7 or 8 count, I think. So you can't tell me he don't look good in defeat when he had the world champion pinned easily, even if it was, just to set up the finish, which was like classic Memphis, classic MJF, old school type of dirty heel, or like a whole old school heel defeat. So I had no problem with it. I actually thought that this was really, really solid. I ended up giving it 4 stars. So it was really good.
Yeah, I gave that 4 as well. Predictions, we all went MJF, so all on 4. We got a match in the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament when CM Punk battles Kojima in the second match on the main card. Punk was getting more boos and cheers during his entrance, and he didn't seem bothered by it at all. They started with some simple chain wrestling. A small CM Punk chant was immediately drowned out by boos as he took control. They ended up fighting at ringside, where Kojima sent Punk over the barricade into the Time Group's area with a stiff chop. Punk tried to trade strikes. His opponent would make him regret it, though. After both men failed to get a pin with an elbow drop from top, Punk applied the Anaconda Vice. Kojima escaped, managed to counter GTS twice. The second City Savior finally hit it for the win. And I tell you something about this matchup, Kojima and Punk both went into that time machine back, because this felt like the old CM Punk. I mean, I can't say a lot about Kojima, but he looked like he was enjoying himself as well.
No, exactly. And this is as someone who watched both of them a lot, not only over the years, but grew up watching Kojima. And the same thing with Punk. Now that I think about it, I guess I grew up watching him too. I guess sometimes you get so wrapped up in how time has flew by, you forget that. But yeah, they're both, like you said, the time machine. They both went literally into what they do best. They hit all the greatest hits and some other hits that you wouldn't expect. Like, what? I didn't think I was gonna get a Hogan leg drop out of this, and Punk being an a-hole and doing Mongolian chops like Koji's tag team partner Tenzan in Japan, and partner and rival. They had great G1 climax and world title clashes in the past, but Koji, again, like you said, pulled out everything. The Koji, pretty much the only thing he didn't pull out maybe was the Koji clutch, but he got the he got the Koji cutter, he got his chops in, machine gun chop. Like you said, the fans were in it. He did not get a chance to hit that lariat, but if he would have did that, it would have went in his favor, because that's usually how it goes. Passed down from Stan Hansen like Kevin Kelly missed. I just love that little bit of history to just let everyone know just how important and how great and how long Kojima has been great. And like you said, you could tell Punk knew that too. And even though the fans they were so ready to boo, they booed him before his music even hit, James. It's kind of it's crazy. But when you take out the context of all the messiness and you just look at what this match was for what it was, this was really, really impressive, especially for Punk's first one-on-one contest since returning. As someone who grew up watching both of them, I really marked out at the pec popping and the top, because that's literally what Kojima is known for. And even Punk doing his own version of those same things, and some of his callbacks to interviews, and like you said, his greatest hit. Both of them did an elbow drop. Like, you can just see the influences and how not only how Kojima has influenced Punk's offense, but just it kind of, like you said, dredged up those emotions of watching Punk over the years. I really thought they both looked good. And Kojima, for someone in his 50s, can you tell? Can you tell? Like, really, can you really tell? That's one thing I love about watching Koji. At this stage of his career, he's in his 50s, he's slowing down. You would think you would see him, have a tougher time than he does, but he is still kicking at a very, very high level, much higher level than he has any right to still be going at. I really love this match, man. I gave it 4.25, man. I really was into it.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Like I said, 31-year-old veteran Kojima, he was beating Punk up like he was member of the Elite. That's when
yes.
Punk, again, was in his element. A lot of wrestlers wouldn't know what to do with a crowd. Punk just embraced the hate. And it just jogged my memory. Last night, before Money in the Bank as well, there was in the crowd a CM Punk chant, which was met by...
Never failed.
Oh, my God. That guy should have left. Like, that's not a good idea. It's like a group, like I said, one section decided to do it, and the rest were just like, no, we are on shutdown. We don't normally turn on each other, but fuck me. As for, like I said, the match was great. I gave it 4.25 as well. Predictions, we all went for Punk, so all on 5. I'm annoyed that All Out is a week after All In. The thing is, we talk about Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
How special would it be if next week we had another show? And I know WWE have done that, most famously with Payback a week after SummerSlam. But how, you know what I mean? It's a massive stage, but you're going to have another event a week later. So surely you're not going to have the results. The story's not going to finish.
Right. And the story, right. Something is either going to, like you said, going to get turned to where we do it again. We get like some rematch, or some other stories will not get the time that they need to actually be a story, and you might just get some matches thrown together. You never really know. So yeah, I'm not really into it either. I'm also not really into the fact that they. I mean, I get it because I think they sell it out every time they go there. But man, they love Chicago. Like, oh
Yeah,
my goodness!
yeah,
Like, is it always just Chicago and like Vegas? You know they're gonna hit Vegas, but I guess you never know. But like they are going. If it's one thing that's guaranteed, 3 to 4 times a year. If you live in Chicago, you can definitely see an AEW show.
yeah, yeah. But this is the thing. I kind of, again, not to make about WWE and AEW, but it's just the difference in places where WWE, and hopefully this is the start of AEW. Once they realise how All In, works well, they can go other. I mean,
Yeah,
I was speaking to
other
people,
places. Yeah.
or even there was a guy from Belgium who I was speaking to, and he was saying the closest event that they have is Paris, which is like the next country over, but they have kind of nothing else
Right.
there. So even if they were to have
Whew.
a big event in England, it would have all the European fans. So there's still, and again,
Right.
I know Australia and and India is an
Mm-hmm.
untapped market. So if we are international, we should be looking at different markets. And speaking of international, the AEW International Championship was next. Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, Katsura Shibata, and Zack Sabre Jr. Man, oh man, did I enjoy this. All four men sized each other up and had a standoff in the middle of the ring. OC hit all three men with the latest kicks ever before all three opponents caught his leg and tossed it back and forth like they were playing catch. Shibata and Sabre kept shoving Garcia away so they could trade shots. When Garcia started dancing and they both took him down at the same time. Whenever they had a chance, Shibata and Sabre just tried to go for each other. Garcia tried and failed to win the match by hitting Shibata with their title at one point, but Cassidy was able to steal the win by shoving Shibata out the ring after he hit Garcia with his finisher and making the cover for the win. The three champions then all argued about whose title was the most important after the match was over. It was, of course, Zack Sabre Jr. But this match, man, so much action, so much fun, The four-way boot was brilliant. This was great.
Yeah, I think fun is like something that's almost overused in like wrestling sometimes. Like I think some just to describe a match, yeah, if you had a good time, I understand that that's the first word that come up. But this literally, in my opinion, was the definition of a fun match. Like this is really, really entertaining for so many different reasons. Like you said, the four-way antics, the boot, all the just the intermingling of all four guys when they did those spots were all fun, all great. The crowd really started to get into it. You could tell they were having fun. And again, Shibata and Zach, man, they had moments to me that really stole the show. And it's not just me being a New Japan mark. Like you can just tell, even when the crowd, like sometimes Zach, I think at one point Zach, I think it was Orange Cassidy who arm, he just started to wrench or whatever he did on the apron, and the crowd was just like, oh, you can hear the crowd go crazy. And the same thing with Shibata for his spots, but again, I didn't think Cassidy. I saw some people online saying they think Cassidy couldn't really hang with them, but I was like, no, I think Cassidy fit really good. I think he shined. Same thing with Garcia. Garcia looked really, really good here at times, even with this awkward dance. I really popped for that spot dance, entertaining through the physical pain, even if it is a little silly. I chuckled at it. But again, I think sometimes, and again, maybe this is just me being who I am, but man, I really miss seeing Shibata regularly, not just in Japan, but just regularly in general. I know he may be doing more in our Ring of Honor. He's another one of those guys that's probably, just like I mentioned with Athena earlier, that we're not seeing as much that I could be seeing because he's in Ring of Honor. And I can't wait till he returns to Japan. Maybe one day that can be possible, or maybe he's not doing that for a very smart reason, not trying to have these high impact physical matches as often as he used to. And in America, he can pick his spots better. But yeah, man, like you said, Zach, great as he always is. And I think the only thing that took away from this very cool four-way to me was the fact that I wish that I could get Zach one-on-one with all these guys. Just like four different one-on or three different one-on-one matches, you know what I mean? With every one of them for his TV title. I would love that one day, but because, Zach is just so good. And again, I think he had great moments with everyone. But all these guys really did good. I gave this 4.25 also. Like you said, the definition of a fun match.
Yeah, no, I gave this 4.5. Like I said, really, really fun. And people do Orange Cassidy, the gimmick And I've heard a lot of wrestlers say this as well, kind of confuse them, but he can.
Yeah,
He's a proper
he can
worker. You know, it's just because
go.
he's not, kick pads or like I said with different things. The thing that makes him special is that he's got that character as well.
Right.
Like I said, Zack Sabre Jr., Orange Bollocks, and all the kind of stuff that he does. I can watch him all day long. Prediction wise,
Yeah.
Jackson Jr. went for Garcia, but he was there to eat the pin. Me and Monty went for Orange Cassidy, so John T's on 6, the girls were on 5. The IWGP Heavyweight title was on the line when Sonata defended his title against Jungle Boy. Hook was at ringside to support his tag team partner. Perry was able to lock in a snare trap early in the match, but Sonata immediately made it to the ropes because he was still fresh and uninjured. What do you think about Taz on commentary during this matchup as well? Because, there was a lot of talk. Sonata didn't know who Jack Perry was. Jack Perry saying, well, he didn't know who Sonata was. And Excalibur saying to Taz, well, he did use his finisher. So surely someone's going to told him about that.
I think I kind of realized, because by this point, he had also, because they were having such a good run. I think they were up. Like, in his mind, he was saying AEW's up, AEW's up. So I think he was trying to play the role of, like, just the AEW guy. So I think that's why. But yeah, it was definitely kind of weird at, like, how hard he seemed to be going against what Sonata has said, or like why, like, you see him asking why Sonata's so hot and all this type of stuff at Jack about accepting the open challenge. And I'm just like, I don't calm down, Taz. I think he was just being dismissive, the same way. And I think it was, again, very, very funny though, because Jack never seen Sonata match, right? Took 3 moves of Sonata at least in this. Not only did he do one to Doki, but he did Skull in this one and did try to do the Paradise Lock. So yeah, man, I think it was a little gamesmanship and all of that. But I can make the case that Sonata really don't know who Jack is.
I would, let's agree there. Agree there. But the longer the match went on, the more physical it became. Both men ended up in a mat. Particularly tough exchange. They started throwing chops. Fully stood up. Like you said, Jungle Boy used Sonata's own signature hold against him, so they were able to get the win. This led to both men trying to outdo each other with various moves. And the match ended when Sonata hit a moonsault for the pin. It seemed like the crowd was a little surprised that this was a finish. It almost might not have been the planned ending. I mean, what were your thoughts? Was it? I was expecting like the DDT at least.
It was definitely abrupt. I think that's what it was. I think anyone who's been watching New Japan or watching this version of Sonata expected him to win with deadfall, like you said, the DDT. But I think that's what I liked the most. While everyone else was shocked, I was laughing because I was like, oh, Sonata really don't take Jack seriously at all. He beat him with the old finisher, and then he didn't kick out of the moonsault. So Jack looks like a jobber in this. So again, I love it. Like, not really a jobber, but he really, like, Sonata really looks strong here. Like you said, the way and also Taz was really mad that Sonata kept pinning him the way he did, like, without putting any effort into the pin. But, like, I really don't think Sonata was threatened. He's like, man, I beat Okada. Do you really think I'm worried about Jack? But I love Kevin Kelly pointing out experience. I think that really played a factor too.
Well, like you said, the way Sonata carried himself looked like a true champion. I did feel a bit sorry for Excalibur during the commentary sometimes, because he was trying to set up Kevin Kelly, and he'll ask him, like, Sonata, do you think this would affect Sonata during this matchup? Kevin Kelly's just like, nope, and then just move on with something else.
Like, nope, Sonata'll be fine.
Help a brother out,
come on, man.
He's trying to. But like you said, this was fun. Great to see Red Shoes, of course, and like you said, we got a big chant, and of course, Sonata tying Perry up in a package and leaving him there. I mean, it's great. What can we say?
The Paradise Lock. It was an awesome moment. He let the crowd get into it, and I think that's what I love the most about this, is that sometimes you wonder. Like, I think that's what I think as a New Japan fan. Like, all right, these guys great in Japan. The people love you. They know the spots. But, like, how well does this do in Canada or, like, in another environment? And will the people react to you? And just to see all the people rise and react like, no, this guy is really good. Or like he did the double leapfrog that Sonata does so well. You can hear the oohs and the ahs. Like, that's what Sonata does. He's a guy that you don't need. He doesn't really talk much. He doesn't have to do any of that. You put him in the ring with someone and he will make you go wild. So I did love him, kind of dominating there towards the end. Like, no need for deadfall. And again, I thought everything. I thought this was really good because even though Jack didn't win, he didn't look back. Now I would say this. Like, did the fans know something that we didn't know, or did I didn't know? Because they hated Jack from the beginning. Like, I know they didn't like him the night before, but like man, they really just was like, nope, we're cheering Sonata. We don't care about you, Jack. Like, everything Jack did for the most part got hated on. So that I had to get used to that. I was kind of surprised there. But yeah, man, this is all good, man. I didn't have a problem with it, but like you said, it was very abrupt, especially for a title match. Because even with Tanahashi and MJF, the finish was dramatic and all of that, but it was kind of what you would expect from a title match. This was finished like it was non-title.
I think without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to give it 4.25 out of 5. What would you score it?
Yeah, I stayed at 4-star. But yeah, it was still good.
And again, like you said, afterwards when we got to the stage, because we're wondering why we're just following Jack Perry walking up the stage.
Yeah, what's taking so long?
Yeah, he hit Hook with a clothesline. Now, I know clotheslines have come from hell in the past,
right?
But whatever this power of the clothesline that took Hook down, like, I mean, I know Hook's been undefeated, but fuck me, man. How long was he down for? Like 10 minutes.
He sold it too. He was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, yeah, he sold that well. And then, like you said, the funny thing about that clothesline is that the first thing I thought about was like Hangman's chops that went a little high because it looked like it was in the neck, in like the neck area. The way he did it, like it, man, the impact, like the way he just, oh man, he dropped him. If you're gonna do it, that's one way to do it, man. You know, just lay him the hell out. And I immediately thought Christian was right.
Yeah, well, no, this thing is, Jack Perry should have Christian as his talk.
Yes, he needs to go find him.
Just go back to him and say, yeah, imagine that reaction. Go, Christian, you were right. These guys are arseholes, and let's have the three of them do, you know, like a proper heel run with Christian as the mouthpiece.
I would love it.
And Taz had to leave commentary to check on Hook as well.
I bet he did.
Yeah. And Tony fucking saw the chance, didn't he? Like, didn't even leave it 10 seconds. Oh, I've taken Taz's place. Oh, is he not coming back? Like, you know, fucking hell. Predictions, we all went Sonata. So Team Jonty is on 7, girls on 6. And then we had Team Elite versus Team BCC with Kingston and Ishii teaming up with Paige and the Young Bucks take on the Blackpool Combat Club, Takeshita and Shooter Umino in a huge 10-man tag. Suspected Don Callis was by Takeshi's side. I am a huge Umino fan. I am going to hitch my whatever I can on him because he has just got everything that, like, you know, shades of different wrestlers and that kind of attitude. And he's just going to improve and improve and improve. Anyway, as for the match, Claudio and Eddie were going to start. But when Umino tagged in, Eddie was like, fuck this. Because he only cares about Claudio for the first several minutes. This was mostly a respectful match. We saw some double team moves, but mostly one-on-one. Kingston and Moxley ended up in a ring together, and everything came to a standstill. See, AEW have a chance. You know, they can create special moments, but like it feels like they've dropped the ball with the connection Eddie has with the fans for the past, you know, year or so. And you can tell they knew the relationship between Mox and Eddie as they traded blows, you know. All 10 men then got in the ring. And I don't know why that sends wrestling fans crazy. You know, like, what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you have, like, more than... It's almost like we can't understand it. You know, like, you've got a tag team match, but anything more than, like, 4 people, we're just like, oh, my God, what's going on? There was chaos.
I've seen them do it with 4 people, though. Like, I've seen them do it in just regular tag matches. Everyone get in the ring. Now it's time to go crazy. It's like, okay, all right.
What is wrong with people? This match had so much going on that you really kind of need to see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Every single wrestler had at least 1 or 2 moments that stood out, which is not always easy. And then we had a great final sequence. Ishii scored a win for his team by pinning Yuta with the Brainbuster. Kingston ended up arguing with the Elite. But, I mean, there was a moment that Takeshi knocked out Ishii just straight on the apron. Just like...
Oh, it was perfect. It was perfect. I love the Bucks running to check on him, too. Like, oh, yeah, he's out. I love it.
I mean, what a match this was. You know, Paige near knocking out Takeshita with a forearm. I mean, I might argue about the result, but you can't argue with the effort.
No. Like that's the thing, if you're gonna do something like that, the match sometimes have to be, have to trump what you think would have been best, for like, not just storytelling, but for some of the people involved. But yeah, for that night and just like what the match ended up becoming, this was really, really great. It was awesome. Perfect multi-man match. It was full of moments that just kind of like, if you just sit back and watch, and as a guy like me who's a fan of pretty much everyone in there, this was just a really, really good time. And like everyone got a chance to showcase their skills. And, again, Ishii, like you said, Kingston and Moxley, anytime they had an interaction, now the people went crazy, the energy was crazy, but also anytime Claudio would do something sleek to Kingston, you felt that heat too. So it's like you said, I hope they realize. I hope after the G1, because I know Eddie's about to go to Japan. He's gonna put on a show in Japan. I can't wait to see his performances in the G1 and just in Japan in general, because I know how much he just loves Japanese pro wrestling. But like you said, you really hope that they realize what they have in a guy like Eddie Kingston, because that connection, like you said, with the fans is something that for some it just doesn't matter. Whenever people see Eddie, everyone lights up. They're just happy because he's just found that right formula. And AEW really still, like you said, have yet to just cash in on that formula the way they probably should. But I just really love everything about this match is really, really good. This is really a really balanced match. Like you said, even Shota picked his spot. Takeshita was just perfect. Anytime Takeshita and Ishii touched, like you mentioned, not only the knockout, but they had a little striking before that. You just be like, man, like, damn, I want Takeshita. Now I want Takeshita to fight Ishii more often, or just get a chance. Like you get again, since Takeshita is a guy who didn't go into the New Japan system, he was in DDT, and he's done all types of other stuff. It's a lot of collisions where I'm like, man, I love to see Takeshita just in there with a lot of these New Japan guys. But again, this is really, really good. And honestly, I don't really know what I was thinking, but at this point when the match happened, this is really like the match of the night for me, honestly, when it happened. But yeah, I gave it 4.5. I really was into this. It was really, really good, really, really fun. Even if I would have liked the Blackpool Combat Club to go over.
Yeah, no, I gave like I said 4.5. And even see like Shooter and Takeshita teaming up, and it's kind of say like they've never shared a room together, but they kind of know how each other works anyway. So it's really, really good stuff. Predictions: well, John T went Blackpool Combat Club, Jackson Gina went the Elite, Soleil draw level, all on 7 as the AEW Women's World Title on the line. Willow Nightingale versus Toni Storm. Storm rolled out the ring after the first exchange, find a footing after a little error, but once they reset and engaged, started to work. The rest of the Outcasts attacked Nightingale while the ref was distracted. I am really getting tired of this shtick already, because the thing is, it's not my issue with that, especially the interference, is that there's only kind of one women's match, so if there was more, we'd have more to experience.
On a 14-match card, by the way. 14-match card, something's gonna get killed for time, and unfortunately, because we know how AEW likes to do things, this was one of those matches that was on the list that was probably not gonna get as much time as the others. So yeah, man, you really hate that. And I think another thing too, guys like me and you, and I think other fans too, who really know what Toni Storm can do, and even Willow at this point, they can go. Like they really can go, and I think that's the problem that you kind of run into. And I know they're trying to. I don't think they really need to continue to establish it, but like, yeah, I know that's what the Outcasts are. They're bad, they're heels. They're just doing whatever they got to do to win. I can understand that. I understand that that's her current role. But when you know what they're capable of, and when you know you have a chance on a night like this to do something really, really memorable, it's kind of sad that you kind of get that, and you get that finish, if you know what I mean. You just get abrupt, kind of deflated type of finish where it's just a poke, a rake across the eye, pile driver, match over out of nowhere, and it's just he's like, man, I think that could have been so much more. But again, I do think the ladies in the time that they were given really did pretty good, from both sides. I think they did still have their moments, but like you said, it's just a shame, honestly, that this match, pretty much the only women's spotlight of the Forbidden Door card, is relegated to that position and that finish.
Yeah, well, like I said, Will and that girl made a comeback and hit a nice Death Valley drive on the apron. But Soho, about last night, Soho and Sarai were kicked out from ringside. But again, like you said, raking in the eyes and hitting the Storm Zero for the pin. But Willow is getting better every time I see her, which, like you said, shows that there's talent there. Both of them gave what they had, but again, with time constraints, when you think they were going to have Adam Cole and Tom Law on here as well, it's like, how you fit that
right.
in?
So was the women's match going to originally be 5-7 minutes? Like it really makes you wonder, like what the hell? So yeah, man, this match, they lost a match on this card, and we still ran into this. But I think I kind of know why when the next match was like 40 minutes.
My God, the last one was like a checking Wikipedia and go, it can't be 40 minutes. I can't have to watch that for 40 minutes. But
right.
I give this one a 3.95 though, because of effort for the women.
Yeah. I agree. I went 3 3/4, but yeah, I'm right in the same boat with you. They worked really hard, even if the finish didn't do them justice.
Yeah. So up next, predictions all went Willow, so all on 8. And up next, the IWGP United States Championship, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. I mean, both men got great reactions during their entries, but Omega was clearly the fan favourite, not only the babyface champion, but also in his home country. We all know the match on January 4th stole the show, and they were looking to do the same here because you could see the facial expressions and the posture, and it's seriously as it gets. Like, Monty, I know you've watched a lot of world-class kind of wrestling, but you know when you get that feeling that both men are going to try everything they've got, and that is when wrestling really works, when two guys are just looking to live a hell of a show, you know?
Yeah, man. I thought no matter what the finish or who was going over, that they knew that they had not only a hell of a match in January to try to top, but like you said, the environment, everything about it. Like, again, this match and the last match was what this show was built around. You know, the only matches that even remotely had enough of a storyline to really be strong enough to get people to buy. So, like you said, you can just tell with the energy in the arena and just the way they look, the interests. Again, Will Ospreay going to like that aerial assassin song that he used to use so much. It was just awesome. It was just awesome to see him in that element. And then, like you said, adapting. You know, Ospreay is he's a cocky asshole, but I wouldn't say he's a full-fledged heel ever, like all the time. So to see him in this element, kind of hostile, even though, like you said, he got a positive reaction, and to see Kenny kind of immediately adapt the Super Canadian role, like it was just all set up perfectly for them to go out there and top what they did in January, and I couldn't wait to see it.
Without doubt, you know, they seemed like they were pacing themselves at first for about a minute, but then they started to hit each other up with some biggest moves. Callis tried to grab Omega's leg. The ref booted him from ringside. That allowed everyone to focus solely on the match for the ring to that point. The thing is, though, with Callis and Will, the only connection is that Don doesn't like Kenny. Because I don't want people to think that Don's a manager like United Empire now, you know?
Right, and it's kind of weird. Like, imagine if you didn't watch anything over the last few months, you just watched their match in January, and you're seeing Callis in Kenny's corner, you know, when he embarrassed Ospreay in Japan, and now you see Callis all of a sudden just here helping Ospreay, other than like for the only reason just for like a beef, you know. So again, yeah, I did like that they did eventually, even though I know what's gonna happen, and they did. I'm glad they did kick him out so we can get to what we really cared about, because that's the one thing about it is like I didn't like the interweaving of the AEW stuff. I wish they could have just kept that separate. Allow him to focus on one thing at a time, but AEW is such a clusterfuck. You know how that is. So I'm not really surprised that they did that, because they want you to focus on 30 things at a time.
That's the only thing I didn't like. But as soon as he went away, the match then turned into one thing: them trying to hurt each other. The cleaner was busted open when Ospreay slammed his head. The announce table several times. I mean,
revenge.
I know it's exactly revenge from for Wrestle Kingdom with the table, which I think was more brutal because at least with like the American style, kind of, it's not
Yeah,
like a proper wooden table, you know. Even
right.
though Will was trying as hard as he fucking could. Like, to be
Oh
fair.
yes. Yes, he wanted him to feel it because, again, like you said, the Japanese tables have no give, nothing to help you out with. At least over here, in AEW, you got the plastic, you got all the stuff, but it didn't stop Will. I think Will realized that it was like, this table ain't like the table I went through, so I'm just gonna bang your head as hard as I possibly can.
It felt like
to make up for it.
We get Will licking the blood of Kenny. And then something that really took me back, man, was Will Ospreay doing the Shawn Michaels to the Canadian flag. I mean, I have not seen that. I mean, he did everything. Up the nose, wiping. I'm surprised he didn't put it on the mat and start to, hump it. Of course, with everything that was going on. Omega did get his revenge when he busted Ospreay open on the steel stairs, which was pretty sickening. And Will was a great juice job, I will say. I thought at that point, shit, how is he going to last for that amount of time? But they did. We show Sions of wear and tear. Each time they went down, it took a little longer to get to the feet. Don Callis made another appearance and hid behind a security guard. The Isles, Omega drilled Ospreay with a stiff knee. Look, can we stop having people kicked out just to come back? It doesn't make any sense. Like, please stop this now. I'm really tired of it. We see Callis after a while passing an Ospreay screwdriver while keeping the ref busy. He used it to escape the one-winged angel and hit Stormbreaker, but Omega got the foot on the rope to break the pin in a great near fall. The crowd at this point was just building and building and building. Ospreay used Omega's own V-trigger and one-winged angel against him, but the cleaner kicked out at one to a massive pop from the crowd. The challenger then dumped him right on his head. I mean, did you think Kenny broke his neck on that Tiger Driver? Because even whoever's on Japanese commentary, I think it might have been Despy, just mind. Like,
oh yeah, Despy lost. Yeah. Oh man, and that deserves that type of reaction because of the history it has in Japanese wrestling. I'm sure by now a lot of people have probably seen people on the internet telling everyone that's kind of like what happened in the Masawa match many years ago. One of the most famous Tiger drivers like that, where you just drop him right on your head. And yeah, it's the reason why you don't really see that pulled out much. It's kind of like the burning hammer is one of those moves that is not really safe to do if you don't know how to protect yourself. But again, as someone who's a Japanese pro wrestling mark, I figured out a while ago that you can protect yourself if you try to, if you land on your head properly to like the side of it instead of landing directly on it. And Kenny did protect himself the best you can do, but at the end of the day, you're still getting dropped on your head. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to say it was soft or anything. I'm saying
it's like saying
he didn't break his neck because
when you go through a table, yeah.
Yeah,
if you fall
exactly.
20 foot, if you land flat back, it's still going to have that effect.
Right.
And at that moment in time, the crowd were desperately behind Omega, but a Stormbreaker later, and your new IWGP US champion, Will Ospreay. This didn't feel like a 40-minute match, and I feel sorry for the fuckers that have to follow it. I mean, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. It was like, honestly, it's like, and this is and think about what I'm saying here though, but like this made me realize, like, I'm like, are you sure that Okada and Danielson should go last? After that, like that's how good it was that it made me really doubt or question two of the greatest in the world, two of the greatest ever, really going last because of just like you said, the emotion, the energy, and just this reminded me of almost every Wrestle Kingdom classic that I can think of. Even not only just the Omega matches, but just like any great contest that I've gotten a chance to watch, those drawn out epic battles. But the difference was these guys, like you said, were at that breakneck, I'm trying to hurt you pace from the, like, pretty much, like you said, from pretty much after like the opening minute or two, they were just trying to kill each other, it seemed like. And like, I know, it's one of those things that I guess like some people say sometimes you have to wait for like some of the greatest moments. You just have to wait. When they were both in New Japan at the same time, Will Ospreay was a super junior, for the most part. And then once he was becoming a heavyweight, Kenny was pretty much out of the door. So, it was one of those things that as a New Japan fan, I thought I got robbed of when Kenny went to AEW. And then again, to get this, not only did we get it at Wrestle Kingdom, but to get a version of it in AEW and to get them to actually either, I don't know if you want to say, honestly, the first match was pretty much still up there, like probably match of the year. So for this match to come in and to either, build off that perfectly or trump it to some people, like, I don't know. Honestly, it made me go back to the Wrestle Kingdom match, and I still don't really know which one is better, honestly. Like, the energy is different because, one is in Japan and one is in AEW and one is in Toronto or whatever, but still, you can't tell me that first match wasn't damn near perfect, and this match was right there with it, with a little bit more of an added element of just kind of like heat and anger. Like, you can just tell Ospreay every time he would do something was trying to absolutely take Omega's head off, but Omega, like that DDT on the steps, the thud, the sound that it made was perfect. Like, again, it's just it really was a wonderful match. It was legendary stuff, and it's just like one of those times where it made me wonder, will we get a third one again? Because Omega has like a great trilogy with Okada that I love, and Ospreay has done great. Well, shoot, it's not even a trilogy with Shingo. It's like a whatever the word for 5 awesome matches. But I know these guys. Yeah, it's a quintet. Yeah, so like these guys, they're really good at these series. So it made me wonder, will they ever do it again? And if not, honestly, they don't really have to. Like, it was just perfection and I can only put it in that way. It's just like I can't even really describe it. Like, I want to go watch it again now that we're talking about it.
The thing is, and again, to put it into the parlance, maybe WWE fans would understand.
Yeah,
maybe not the kind of Shawn Michaels Undertaker type, but what
right.
You're hearing from guys who kind of ruled a generation as they did, and like we know the physical wear and tear on Kenny and Will. So to be able to put the performance that they have this year, because they, we don't know what's going to happen in a couple of years' time. Not saying it's going to be like a retirement match,
true.
But to kind of have those two matches back to back, which were different but still kind of the same. It does. Like I said, if you get a third one, then it cements both their legacies. Because again, it's sad to say, but it's not like a passing of the torch from Kenny to Will, because Will is at that level. It's like it's a bit like even Okada and Danielson, where we're getting this match now because, I mean, not Okada, but for me, for Danielson, it's a bit like Edge, where how many miles, we'll discuss this as well in a moment, how much miles are left on the clock. So, but like
and it made me think about Omega and Danielson too. It's like now the only thing they have is that draw. So will they fight again? It's like, because again, both of their time, like you said, they can't do it at this pace or at this style forever. It's like, how can you keep this up forever? And we talked about Ospreay's body breaking down. So again, you just want them to get all their moments in as much as possible. But like you said, this is definitely part of that. And I agree, trilogy would really cement this as one of the greatest rivalries of all time.
Yeah, and if that happens at Wembley, then my voice is going to be even worse than it is today.
Hell yeah.
But we know, like I said, we're getting through this, actually, and I'm not doing too bad. But out of 5, it's a 5. This is obvious 5.
Yeah, it's obvious 5, man. Yeah, no, 5 easily.
All predictions, we all went Will's all on 9, and then I've never felt more sorry for than I did with Sting, Darby Allin, and Tetsuya Naito versus Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki. But I tell you something though, 3 entrance theme bangers. If they were in the UK, man, like the you know what I'm saying? Like Naito is fucking just a banger anyway. Obviously with Jericho, and then Kazi Nina Ray is one of my favorite. Even I'm singing at home. That's kind of what it's about. Just really, really good stuff, And this is the thing. We don't get enough of that. We just have a sing-song every now and again. Just
right.
Get involved.
Yeah. No, and that's a part of wrestling. Like, I've heard some people have a discourse about, like kind of like what happens with Judas and all of that type of stuff. And just like the the crowd interaction with music. But that has always been, like you said, since they've really introduced interest music and wrestling, that's always been a part of it. So it's always great to have that element to kind of keep everyone going. Because like you said, after that match, too, it's like, yeah, let's sing a song now to kind of after all that violence.
In our mouth. Like, yeah,
right.
It's doing last night.
Let's relax.
But as for the match itself, Naito and Guevara started for their teams and took the time getting into it. Spanish God dodged Naito a couple of times to mess with him, so Naito kicked him in the gut. Both men posed to taunt each other before they started taking the match seriously. Naito's another guy. What now that I've got him, I find him fucking hilarious. Like, the amount of time it takes to take... When I first saw him with his entrance gear, I was like, what the fuck? Why you take so... And now I just love it. I wish he was...
He do it on purpose.
5 minutes into the match, still jacket off slow. Do you know what I mean? Like, that kind of... The attitude that he's got, now that I understand, is really, really fun. One thing that's not that fun at the moment is watching Sting wrestle. You know, because it's gone past that point now, isn't it? We all know. I'm not going to talk about what happened on Dynamite, but it's like he's still got a chin.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
With this one. The thing I found funny, Jericho bagged Suzuki to tag him in, and Suzuki's just like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not tagging you in. I want to fight until Jericho finally got the tag. I don't know, and even Suzuki posing with like Sammy and Jericho is just. There's something about Minoru Suzuki that I just love. And it's not like, with Ishii, I get sick of his matches with Suzuki. He's just, I know what we're going to get, but I just really, really enjoy it. Naito was able to keep Suzuki down for the pin to get the victory. And, of course, the chant of Murder Grandpa. I think, all in all, for a match that just was after like a Match of the Year candidate, this didn't do too bad.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. They had to follow, something like that. They had to follow a really, really classic match. But I think it was a great change of pace, too. It was a different style. It was in the trios format. It definitely had its rough points, like you mentioned, with Sting kind of being in the spot that he probably, at this stage, he probably shouldn't be doing as much as they've been having him do, So, and I hate that, but I also hate the fact that it seems like it's going to take something like what happened on Dynamite to get them to slow down with it. It's the same thing that happened, in my opinion, with Jeff Hardy when it comes to AEW. Like, sometimes you have to save these legends and these greats from themselves. It's not that they aren't still great and can't be great in spots, but at the end of the day, Father Time is undefeated, and being the guy taking the most bumps on a team when you got someone like Darby, in the situation. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. But I also, as a Naito mark, I just have to point this out, that Naito really don't take AEW or American or just like non-Japanese wrestling. He doesn't really take it seriously. If you notice, he wrestled the whole match in his shirt, which is what he tends to do in matches that are not important. Like, that's what he does on the Road 2 show. That's what he does in the trios matches. You know how he is in his regular match. Or with big matches, he's wearing a suit, he's doing what he does. But yeah, I really love the energy that he brought. He got a better introduction than almost any other New Japan wrestler. He's treated Forbidden Door like a Road 2 show. He wrestled the whole match in a shirt. 64-year-old man taking the big bumps. Did not do his finisher. He said he's not going to take a bump for you guys. And he won with his roll-up. And he left as fast as possible. Like, again, that's why I love Naito. He does not give a damn about anything, honestly, than his own interest. And really, if it's outside of that and selling merch, I don't know what moves Naito. He loves baseball. I know he loves that. That's about it. So
I'm saying to you, about MJF earlier. And then Sonada and fucking Naito show up, and it's just like, yeah, we don't give a fuck.
We can return that energy right back, right? We don't give a damn about you either. You're the true indie fan. Like, that's what I love. I love that attitude. Like, no, screw you guys too. But yeah, again, this was fun for what it was meant to be. Like you said, it still had its moments, even if it was, like, again, it's following, like, one of the most brutal and one of the best and most athletic matches I've ever seen. So you have to kind of, take it for what it was meant to be. But it was still really, really fun. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, no, I gave it a 3.95.
Yeah, so as a matter of fact, I stopped around 3.9 also. I thought it was really, really good.
Predictions that went faces were all on 10. And then the main event of the night was arguably the biggest dream match there is. Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. Danielson entered the arena to his old entrance music, the final countdown by Europe to battle Okada for the first time.
I was worried immediately. Like, oh God, this is American Dragon. This ain't Danielson. Wow.
To be fair, yeah, a lot of money was spent on the rights, and Danielson, I think, didn't even know what happened. But you see the tears in his eyes as he was coming out, and the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," before they even made contact. So just how big, before we get into the action, is this as a dream match? Is this the biggest dream match we could get right now with the wrestlers available?
I've been racking my brain, and I think honestly, I'm trying to think because I know pretty much Okada is the biggest you can get in Japan. It's like, but then you ask that question like, who in AEW is really bigger or as far as like and still really had like still going that we can think of that could fit? Because as much as I love Moxley, I can't make the case that Moxley would be a bigger match than this or anything like that. So. Really, it probably is the biggest match if you're just thinking about stars and you're just thinking about names when it comes to AEW that you can make. Even Chris Jericho at this stage, he has the name value, but at this stage of his career, no one is going to be pining to watch him versus Okada. So, I think right now, and even with Danielson being at this stage of his career, I think we know what he brings to the table from a skill level, from a technical standpoint. And honestly, this is really, really probably as big as you can get. If you can think of something bigger, let me know. Because honestly, I'm having a hard time coming up with something that can come back to.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. So we get into the action, and even though they're working at a brisk pace, making everything look good, you can see the pacing themselves and saving the big spots for later in the match. Danielson quickly found out how tough Okada is when he not only withstood several chops, but also invited the American Dragon to hit him harder. Danielson was more than happy to oblige. Both men avoided each other's signature moves several times before they took the fight out of the ring. Okada hit a tombstone pile driver on the ramp to turn the tide completely in his favour. After Okada hit a flying elbow, Danielson began to convulse. The referee called the doctors to check on him.
Scary, by the way.
That was, I don't know if it was fucking if it was real or what, but
yeah,
that was not. I don't like stuff like that.
I hope. I was about to say, I really hope it was, because don't play like that. Not seizures. Please don't play with that. Like, man.
That was
scary.
One thing they did mention, and again, something that you've mentioned before, was just how big Okada is, especially considering, people think with Danielson with experience in WWE, and Okada powered over him. It looked like Okada landed on his arm and broke it. The question is, I'll save the question because the American Dreamer popped up, hit the flying knee, but was too hurt to make the cover. He countered a German suplex and hit a second knee for a 2 count before he was going to kick Okada's fucking head in. Danielson's arm was pretty useless, though. After a long struggle to try and get it locked in, Okada tapped out, which seemed to surprise not only me, but the crowd and everyone else. The question is, and it's not the case of, Danielson beating Okada or, as I said to everybody, WWE beating New Japan. It's a case, should they have called an audible? Because at that point with 100%. Arm,
100% in my opinion. Unless, but again, I also heard that some people, some AEW fans indicate to me, and I'll take that word for it, that maybe this felt more like the beginning of something, that they wanted to do something again with Okada and Danielson. Maybe in Japan down the line. Well, with that injury, it's going to be way down the line now, honestly, most likely. But yeah, man, it was. I honestly wish they would have, because of the significance of the injury. I think even though he did confirm it after the match that he fractured it, or he broke it, that it was pretty rough. Like you said, you could tell. It was like it was nothing. The match pretty much changed. Like, as a matter of fact, I honestly think they could have probably went to another gear and went to maybe a level to where we start to question whether Omega and Ospreay. I'm not saying they would have, because I can't really say that now in hindsight. But you see what I'm saying? Like when you have an injury like that, it makes you wonder, like how many more places could they have gone, or did they want to go with that main event? But they couldn't, because they knew he had that type of injury. But yeah, I agree. Making someone tap like that when we know you're the one severely injured, and then again, this is the first time. Not only have, like I told you guys, Okada has never lost out of Japan to my knowledge. Other than like his days when he was a young boy or like on excursion, that stuff don't count. But this is also the first time he submitted since submitting to Shinsuke Nakamura in 2015. So another, like, the method in which it happened was completely out of left field for me. And honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I had to kind of agree with the AEW fans about getting a rematch of some sort at some point, because Okada usually never really loses and just leaves it at that. But with this injury, and depending on how long it could be out, I don't know if they may have been planning that for Wembley, or possibly, like I said, in Japan down the line after the G1, or maybe towards Wrestle Kingdom for next year. Who knows? And they still can do that depending on how Danielson heals. But yeah, man, I was definitely in shock, and I'm pretty sure everyone was, because I think that may have been some of the reason why we got Danielson winning in the first place, or the fact they even went there, because pretty much everyone coming in is like, no way he's gonna beat Okada, the juggernaut that Okada is. It's just that you just don't really believe that. But hell, I have to say it was a really, really good match up until that point where the arm kind of broke, and then you just was like, it had this moment that you kind of like you probably would take out of it, but it also had some of the smoothest wrestling by two of the best in the world, honestly. And I think you still got a chance to see why this was a dream match, but did it live up to the hype? It's kind of like my question I have for you. Like, did this live up to your expectations coming in? Because other than the shocking result, I don't know if it did for me.
I don't think it. The thing is, though, and it's almost like the American style clashing with the Japanese, because again, with the tap out, you have a card and looking for the rope more, and then getting pulled back in the kind of middle of the ring, rather than the kind of, like you said, the Japanese way of just kind of being there, and even like the guy letting go to submission and actually getting it done. And the thing, like I said, after Kenny and Will, to have these in this position, I mean, like I said, it could get up another level, but after the arm, they should have called the audible and finished it a little bit sooner, or had something else. He's obviously got plans.
Because he's insane. He wrestled like 10 minutes after it, right? Something like that.
And there's no doubt in Danielson's toughness, but again, I'm worried that now in his career, when the injuries piling up, to try and wrestle these kind of 30, 25-minute hard matches, with your body breaking down. This is what Omega has struggled with these past couple of years now as well, and Danielson finding it. I think with Ricardo, we've shown just how popular he is and how big. I'm a little bit disappointed because, again, if they're going to have Danielson and Ricardo at Wrestle Kingdom, I want the storyline with Ricardo with kind of Shooter and Renderite and the kind of young guns to kind of be like the main story, if you know what I mean, in the next year or so. So again, it'll be interesting where it kind of fits in, because I like this kind of a cockier Ricardo as opposed to the one in AEW, but I can see why they're doing it. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But as you said, when you put two of the best performers and it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's difficult. It's a situation.
Right.
But, I'm not saying I was disappointed. But again, if we can see it again, but it's going to be, it'll be interesting, won't it? Like I said, the future with New Japan with Okada is kind of, he's their boy. So to have him lose by tap out, they've obviously got a plan,
Right. Usually it's something connected to this, right? Like they don't lose. Okada rarely loses without good reasons. The same thing in his loss to Sonata. They paid off a year's storyline where he told Sonata years ago that you're my rival and I expect to see you soon. And, even though it took Sonata years to finally get back to him, they finally put a bow on that. Usually that's what happens when someone not even beat Okada. Hell, if you come close to Okada, you're setting up a storyline for the future. So, and I agree 100%. Even if it's not the Shota or Rin, because they may not believe they're ready for that spotlight in a match with Okada. I would love a Kaito rematch, or like the guy, the former world champion from Noah, because he got dominated so bad in the one match they had for someone who's a world champion. You might get a chance to get that run back, because it seems like Noah, Shingo Takagi was just in Dragon Gate. Like, New Japan has been really, really doing a good job of just really showing love to the entire scene of Japanese professional wrestling, giving everyone, chances to just fall in love, not only with their characters, but other characters from other promotions in Japan. And I really think after the pandemic, really how it affected Japanese wrestling, I really can tell that they're putting way more of an effort to try to just help out and just put on the best possible show that they can across the board. And I think at the end of the day, Forbidden Door was a success in that regard. But I have to say, like you said, and let's just be honest, when it comes to hyped up matches like this, dream matches, it's kind of like with Shinsuke and AJ, after the Wrestle Kingdom. Like, everyone wants them to go back to Wrestle Kingdom 10 and do that. And I agree. I would have loved to see that style of match, but it was under the WWE umbrella. Would they really have that opportunity to capture that lightning in a bottle again? It's tough. Like, it's tough sometimes to live up to what people expect from you, especially when you've already done it. But in this case, this was something we've never seen before. So they had a chance to set a tone or set even bigger expectations. And I just think that, like you said, they had a hard time, especially with the injury and with circumstances living up to that. But I still don't think anyone looked bad here. And then again, overall, I think that just shows also not only New Japan's respect for Danielson, but also the world's respect for who he is as a wrestler. Because no one that I saw, everyone was shocked that he won, but I didn't see anyone shitting on the fact that he won, other than, like you just mentioned, that he probably shouldn't have won after breaking his arm like that, and how it looked from that standpoint. But honestly, everyone still was like, wow, I can't believe he did it. But not, hats off to Danielson for being a tough bastard. So, yeah, man, it was one of those things where it's like, it's always tough when you're in that dream match element. But I do think these guys delivered a really good contest. And sometimes that's all you can ask, especially with the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it still gave it like a 4.95. So it wasn't like a bad match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. I gave it 4 3/4. Like, it's just a little, like you said, a little bit worse than what we got. But again, we got one of the greatest matches we've ever seen.
It's the thing, isn't it? Like,
plastered in there.
And I think even the show overall, the show was really, really fun. Like we talk about here. Before that, actually, let me wrap it up, because we all went to Carter with predictions. So final scores all on 11, so we all get a point. So it means, Monty, you're still in the lead with AEW. You win your second New Japan show this year. You're on 3, and James, that's me, Gina and Jaxie are all on 2. But for rating, match of the night, obviously Will versus Kenny, I think would be fair to say. There's too many to mention, but I actually might say New Japan. Because you talked about, I don't think there's any other wrestling company that has worked so well with others. Even going back in the day when they used to work with WCW, and have Ric Flair against the kind of the legends that we had, the Great Muta, of course, coming across. The relationship with Impact, that is working well for Impact at the moment, because it means they're actually selling out shows. Even if it was with wrestlers like Tanahashi as opposed to Okada, the stuff they're doing in Japan, with even with Stardom and stuff like this as well, and to let AEW, to have a show with AEW, and to let like I said, their biggest star Okada lose to Bryan Danielson in the main event shows the faith they've got in themselves, and with the amount of egos and the kind of protection in wrestling, it's nice to see a company go, you could beat Okada because we know what we've got planned. You know what I mean? Rather than kind of...
Right.
The problem with AEW, leave their own shit too much, rather than just getting on with it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about outside forces. Worry about making your product the best. And that's why I've really enjoyed New Japan this year as well, because the stories, like I said, make sense, and we're excited for the future as well,
Right, I 100% can. I can definitely ride with that. Like, you're nowhere near off base. I think, like you said, New Japan and what they've been able to do, and like they've really recaptured that feeling also in their own product, the feeling of a few years ago that they had before the pandemic. And again, like you said, to still be able to do something like that. A guy like we mentioned, like all the way up to this show when we were talking about why certain matches had to be what they were, we were talking about what we know just as wrestling fans, and that's promotions having egos or not wanting their guys to look a certain type of way. And for them to throw that curveball in there and be willing to not only respect Danielson and AEW enough, but like I said, look at their guy and like at the end of the day, like, nah, he's Okada. He's fine. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Like we're not really worried about Okada at all. He'll be fine. So, I really love that message. Naito is definitely one of my MVPs. Again, Sonata, great, looked like a champion. But honestly, it's just hard for me to not give it to Will Ospreay. I know what he's putting his goddamn body through. He's another guy. Like we talked about Kenny, but man, he limped his way into this tournament and into this match, and to be able to put on one of the most physical contests I've just ever seen. And then this is a month before he has to compete in the G1. So, it's just one of those things where it's like, how many times can I give Ospreay love and respect for just doing what he does? He obviously really, really loves what he does, and it's just, again, he's just, I don't see how, like, he may not be able to say that for long because of the way his body holds up, but it's really hard for anybody to make a case against Ospreay being, if not the best in the world, definitely in the top three right now, especially when you think about quality of what he does.
Yeah. And what's weird as well, we're going to talk about this because we're going to balance each other out a little bit. Because obviously I know how much of a New Japan fan you are, so if people say there's a little bit of bias on your part, hopefully I kind of bring that down. Is that the same as when we do Money in the Bank next week? You're going to have to bring me back down to earth with
that.
But, I mean, the rating of the show, I mean, I've rated this pretty fucking high, So, yeah. For me personally, I really enjoyed the show, Like I said, everything I thought had a purpose. The buy-in didn't need 4 matches. I think they just went fast enough as well. I really liked the open. The Punk match was great. 4-way, Sonada, the Elite, just everything was building. Women's match, maybe a little bit disappointing. Will and Omega was fantastic. And even the main event was good. So I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. So whatever you score it, surely it can't be as bad as that. What are you going to give it?
Yeah, honestly, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm just a little bit under at 9.25. Like you said, really, really great pay-per-view. Honestly, I must say that I hate to say now I said I don't want to sound biased, but watch this. Compare it to last month with Double or Nothing. Like, oh my God, like New Japan made them really look really good. If you want to compare it to Double or Nothing, and just like the overall show after that cluster. So it was really good for AEW to kind of get back into the swing of things and put on a really, really strong show. And like you said, 11, pretty much 14, like we still got 13 out of the 14 matches that was originally scheduled. And at the end of the day, I think they end up pacing everything pretty well. It was nothing in single digits, nothing remarkably short. Like you said, the only disappointing thing you could think about maybe was the women's match, but I think the girls still worked hard and still did a good job, like you said. So it was a really, really strong show. I have nothing bad to really say about it. The only thing I'll say going forward with Forbidden Door is that hopefully in the years to come, because I think I did read that they will be continuing to do this annually. At least that's the plan going forward right now. I just hope that we get more Ospreay. Even though I know this show may feel like you don't need it, because you can throw all these together, these matches, and still end up with great quality stuff. But I think that got a lot to do with the talent. I want more Omega and Ospreay type builds coming into this. I want the whole show to feel like what that match felt like. It may not be like that in quality, but I want the investment to feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, because AEW is always trying to do so much at one time, we never get the build that this show deserves, especially leading up to it. But we still got a really, really good show out of it. And I hope they don't think, since we got that show, that they can just continue to just throw these cards together and hope we can just help the wrestlers just save them on it. No, I want that type of build for everything.
Well, this is the thing, and it reminds me then of like ECW One Night Stand. When they brought back ECW, and that first event was mental because, to see the old ECW back, weren't sure what the card was, and it's great. In the second year, yes, we had a great main event, I think, RVD and Cena. and then the rest of the card, and then the next year. And like you said, it's all well him versus him, but if it doesn't mean anything, if there's no reason for it to happen, like this year, you were lucky because, like we said, we had the Will and Kenny stuff at Wrestle Kingdom, and then the Dream match. Like I said, everything else could have been put together. It made for a better show, but like you said, when you haven't got like FTR and Bishamon, which would have made more sense than probably stuff on the card, you know, like it's interesting to see. And also, like I said, with politics with CM Punk and Kenta and other stuff like that. But again, this year's event, I think, really, really delivered. What's your, like I said, final thoughts on Forbidden Door?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what they decide to do going forward in this working relationship. I would like to see, like, will we get more, more intersection of the brand? You know, like you said, will it be another Osprey, or I mean, not necessarily Osprey, but another Omega or another AEW type of talent, like Eddie Kingston, any of them? Will they be at Wrestle Kingdom when we see New Japan guys go to Wembley? You know, I know Tanahashi has talked about how much of an honor it would be to actually wrestle at Wembley. You know, I know he won't be able to do what he wanted to do and be the first Japanese wrestler who be world champion there, but it's still, you know, it would be nice to see what can they pull off. Like, hell, I know you guys, I know AEW, I know you in the crowd would love to see a Zack Sabre Jr. TV title match just for the hell of it in Wembley. Like, why not? You know, so again, I really want to see what they decide to do in this relationship, because I think at the end of the day, both brands, you know, really make each other better when they work together. I think you can see that with the quality of this show. And again, it's just one of those things that that you really want to see. Like, how many can we muster up another, you know, dream match that we didn't know we wanted? We can't think of it right now, but like, who, you know, can Shingo have a one-on-one match next year with someone who can be just as physical as him from the AEW side of things, you know? And I think that's the thing. Like, how can we build up more of AEW stars so you won't have to rely on a Danielson to have a dream match? Can you get, you know, some of the other talents like Powerhouse Hobbs, Miro, and some of these other guys, Ricky Stark, can they be in this position against some of Japan's fighters? Like we kind of see with Sonata, we see Shota, we see a lot of that. We see the new era of New Japan also sprinkled in here, but not so much on the same side when it comes to AEW, other than like having Max out there. And, you know, of course, you got Orange Cassidy and Darby on the card. But you know what I mean? Like, can we continue to establish stars like New Japan has and build other people up?
Well, because like you said, otherwise it becomes like WWE versus New Japan in a way, because you've kind of...
Yeah, we need Jericho every year. Like, no,
Jericho,
we don't need
Danielson,
Jericho match
Punk,
every year.
You know, even like Adam Cole, it's association. So when you have got AEW talent, like MJF, you know, and stuff like that, it's like, okay, that's what you want. And that's what you kind of, like I said, build it up and see what happens there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, so I think that's it. I mean, it's a great show. It flew by. And I survived it, Monty. I told you I would, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Very impressive performance, man, because after a big events like that, I don't know. And also, we did a good job of, I almost mistakenly did it, but I was like, nope, not fair. Not going to do it. I did a good job of not comparing anything I saw yesterday to Forbidden Door, because it just wouldn't even be right. Because you want to talk about investment, like, oh my goodness. But yeah, let's just we'll worry about that next week. Like you said, really, really strong show and a strong pay-per-view to review. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, and like I said, that is it. Don't forget all social media. Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNRJR. You can find the entire WNR team on Twitter banner. Monty, where can people find and listen to you?
At Monty Pod on Twitter. You can also go to YouTube and Mind of Monty. We may have a update coming soon, a personal update, just letting you know how things have been going. You know, moving and getting established with a routine when it comes to now that I am a parent, all that type of stuff. And we will definitely touch on the major headlines from the wrestling world, as I tend to do from time to time. So, check that out when it releases. But, check me out at My Monty Pod on Twitter. You can go to James's. You can go to the WNR Podcast banner. You can go there. Or, like I said, Mind of Monty on YouTube. Check me out.
Yeah, awesome. WNR also on Facebook and Instagram across all Google platforms. Send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com. I did meet quite a few guys as well, like I said, the O2 Friday and Saturday night. I didn't get any names, but I got some names. But again, how it is, so hopefully people can email
It's a long night.
and stuff like that. We'll have a chat. Yeah, oh my God. We can chat about it next week. YouTube Love Podcast. We have latest clips of podcasts at the same time on YouTube. Do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify and iTunes where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So our next episode, like I said, is the Money in the Bank review. Would I have calmed down in the 7 days? I'm hoping. I'm hoping. But it all seems just like a blur, you know, like even from I've been in like a wrestling bubble since Thursday. Ever since AEW Fight Forever came out. Is it called Fight Forever? I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's not very good, but again, I'm not here.
WNR game review coming soon.
I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to sleep for 24 hours now, at least, or at least 7 days until the next podcast. But until then, I was James Rowlands, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Again, Monty, thank you very much for joining me today, man. And we got it done.
Yes, we got through it, and you get you some rest, because I know you need it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.